one of the few core ideas is the fact that it's a label, so a little bit like in the same sense that a music label, represents and produces the work of musicians or music producers. The idea with AntiVJ is a bit similar, but with visual artists. So that's one element. Another one is the fact that one of the core ideas at the beginning was to bring together a number of visual artists that were interested in really using video projection with a more lighting approach, and to really get away from the rectangular flat screen that you have, in cinemas or the TV and all that sort of thing, and to use more the space around us as a canvas. So it could be buildings, it could be transparent material, like for the show with Fernando. It could be structures that can be designed and then turned into a projection canvas.
That's funny because most of the visual artists on the label, we all have, or most of us have, this kind of VJing background where we used to do projections onto a rectangular screen behind the DJ and like play along the DJ and try to follow him. And it was very interesting, but at some point we realized that with the same video projectors we were using, we could also project onto objects, projects onto different layers, and it didn't have to be flat and rectangular like TV or cinema. And we could kind of create this new format, new canvas, with playing with space and with perception. So most of the project we develop under the label, they are around this idea of light in three-dimensional space, as opposed to the flat rectangular TV or mobile phone. Or we kind of bored of that flat little rectangles. So playing in space around us was very appealing to all of us. And the collaboration with Murcof is also one of these projects where we didn't want to have just a screen behind the musician, but we wanted the musicians and Simon, the performers, to be on stage but surrounded by the visuals, and also the visuals being spreaded all across the stage. It kind of gives to the audience this kind of panoramic view where you kind of feel more immersed. We really like the idea of doing immersive displays.
Like playing with the idea of people's perception. I think that's that's in a lot of the projects, if not all of them, but to try to play with to trick people's mind and to make them believe that there's something there or not, or to play with depth and volume and that sort of things.
I think I remember it started a long time ago at Venn Festival in Bristol. We had this opportunity of doing a collaboration with Fernando. It was very much improvised, and it was very spontaneous, I guess. The idea of trying something, we were not really sure what would happen. And that was probably, 4 years ago. 6 years ago, a while ago. And Simon arrived on the label, and then I think there was something that really worked between you guys, because Simon was already using Fernando's music to do some experiment with audio reactive content, and you guys met and started working together.
I think the first gig was a bit weird because I haven't met Fernando before the very first show we did together, so it was a bit improvised. So we got in touch mainly by email, discussing about the show and how we could do it. And I was already a big fan of Fernando's music before that, so it was kind of easy to think about how we could approach it. It's always a work in process because we have to develop everything. I developed the software I used to make the pictures, and so every time we got a chance to work for a long period together, we do it, but it's not easy to work all the time like that. So we have like small residency once in a while, and every time we try to push the thing to the next level.
I think the interaction between you two is, like you said, it's like a work in progress. So it's evolving every gig. But the setup, the way it looks on stage, because it's like one of the few projects that we do. I mean, as AntiVJ, which is stage based, which is in theaters, and so in that sense, there's the sort of same screens and the same sort of scenography on stage every time. But in terms of the interaction between you two and the software you develop and the ideas you want to push, it's slightly different every time. And because it's improvised as well, I guess that's an element that makes it quite unique every time, like a performance is unique every time.
I guess the core concept of the project is there. It's just every time it's a bit more evolved. We try and polish it and bring it to like an ideal situation. So what we're presenting here in São Paulo is like the latest version of our project.
We're using a transparent material, so the performers are behind the screen, but when you are in the dark, the screen kind of disappears and you just see visuals kind of floating in the air, so you don't really see where those lights, well, you just see those lights like sort of floating in the air. So it's, and the type of visuals that Simon creates are playing again with this idea of trying to create like a sort of a 3D feel of certain visuals. So sometimes you have the impression that you are surrounded by a sea of a cosmos of stars, and you really see the depth and a lot of space. And so it's, to that extent, it's it's working around that idea again.
As soon as we got a chance to really work together in the same room, we started playing with more with the interaction between the music and the visual, because all the visual are made in live. Actually, there's nothing pre-rendered. It's not like a classic movie. I'm not like pressing play and everything is happening. It's more like well, the technology behind is a bit more like a video game. So I could go right or left, and I can choose that in live. So basically, this allows me to kind of take what's inside the music and to transform that data into visuals. So that particular thing is quite new, I guess. We have to find a way to use that technology and to make it really interesting.
I think the way we work is really kind of free. As visual artists, we all do a bit of experiments and what we call research and development, especially me and Simon. We spend a lot of time looking at new technologies around and how we could use these technologies for artistic projects. It could be pretty much anything, like we've been playing around with the Kinect recently, or with lasers. Tonight we're using DMX lights. So there's definitely this research part that is very important especially for Simon and me. And then the other artists on the label, they also have specific things that they're really interested in. Like Romain Tardy, also another artist on the label, is very much into figurative characters and animating living things, and it's really particular to his work. So he's developing side projects around this idea of having characters interacting and creating worlds. And I think, all the artists, they have their own practice and they develop their own ideas. And we feel really lucky to have loads of inquiries from people who wants to work with us or collaborate with us. And again, like Nico said, we never try to push things, or we try not to push things. We'd rather wait and find the right person to work with. So I think every month or week we have kind of new ideas, and some happened. Some might happen in the next year or a couple of years. But yeah, I think we're really lucky to be busy enough not to really have to plan things, because it just happen kind of naturally. And we do large-scale projects, like a project that Romain Tardy and Thomas Vaquier from the label directed together in Poland, in this place called Ala Stulecia. It's a really large concrete dome that was built 100 years ago, and then we did our first permanent mapping piece. So the piece is being played every day, and it's going to stay there for years. And it kind of happened quite naturally after making many mapping project. We had a chance to do a permanent one, so it was very special for us, but we didn't really plan it, it just happened. And we also do much smaller projects, sometimes solo project from artists, but also big collaborations. But yeah, no, we're lucky enough just to let things flow and see what happens.
Because at the beginning as well, we were working on quite big, like large-scale projects, so quite naturally there was a need to be together, to be more than one person to work on those big projects, and there was just excitement to work together. So naturally there was quite a few projects working like this, and I guess over the years as well, each visual artist having a quite singular sort of style and aesthetics and techniques as well. So in parallel to that as well, they've been developing their own specific solo projects as well. So we're still doing some collaborative projects, but it really depends on those projects, really, the scale and the excitement of getting together, or the how people feel about working at more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 7, like Joanie said.
I guess inspiration can come from any part of life. Music-wise, any sound as well. It can be music, other musicians. Of course, I have many musicians that I admire and that helped me get into music. For example, one of the first influences was Jean-Michel Jarre. I used to listen to his Oxygen album tens of times, a lot of times, and wonder about how he can make all those strange sounds. So then I got interested in how he made the sounds, what kind of synthesizers he used. And slowly I began discovering all this world of making sounds with technology. That was in the early 80s. And since then, of course, I expanded my scope, my taste of music from classical, electronic, rock, any kind of music, and then beyond music as well, just any sound. You hear interesting sounds anywhere and everywhere. So it's no specific point. And also, it's more about a posture towards life than anything else. You just try to keep the ears open and see what can be captured and used as a tool to express something.